Oh, let's start it again. My mic was off. Look, this is as authentic as it gets. So I'm not going to be answering questions or talking to chat at the beginning, but let me just say again, welcome to Street Talk Live, and this is the authentic side of gaming. This is episode 1. It is May 8th, Monday, 2023, and I am excited to launch these. It's going to be a fairly raw and authentic approach to everything gaming that I want to talk about. I'm going to make sure that we, hold on just a second, make sure that we stay on time, make sure that we have a blast. So welcome. This will be recorded. It'll be available on YouTube. It'll be available as a podcast. So stay tuned for all those details. But I want to just say a big welcome to everyone who is tuning in and going to tune in. We are going to have a blast as we talk about the authentic side of gaming and all things powerful that gaming brings. So, what are we going to do with this show? What's going to be happening? This will be a Monday through Friday show, and we are going to let it evolve naturally as things change in the world of gaming, as we interact with different people, as we see what's happening for the opportunities for good in the world. This will be a show that completely evolves around that. Couple of other things right out of the gate. This is brought to you by the 9292 Foundation, as well as Sly is our official beverage partner for the foundation. If you're not aware what the 9292 Foundation is, we're going to talk a little bit about it today as we introduce how we're going to be moving forward and all the things that we have coming up on Street Talk Live. Now, several big announcements will be coming as we progress. Things like if you want to be a guest on the show, you understand what the purpose of all of this is, you can join our Discord. All the information will be available. There will be people, our mods will be in chat, and you will be able to get in touch with them as to how to get into the calendar or apply to be on the show. We will have lots of guests. We'll be doing lots of great things. If there is ever anything that changes in schedule, I'll do a pre-recorded show and we'll put it out there. But 99.9% of the time, unless I'm traveling, this is going to be a live show. So with that being said, a live show means that anything can go wrong, anything can happen. We can go crazy directions and do all kinds of crazy things. So just be ready for that. Now, let's get into kind of a little bit of what I have in mind with what this show is going to be, because I think it's important to understand right out of the gate. I am very, very, very passionate about gaming. I've been gaming since the early 70s, and I have gamed all the way through now. At age 60, I have no intention of stopping at all. But I view gaming as much, much more than just an activity. It can be fine. It can be a great activity for people that simply want to relax, get away from the stress of a day, just have some fun. People have lots of different kinds of activities. The activity of gaming, however, for me, is very different for many reasons. And I say different because it has a power that is unique amongst most other activities. You may fish, you may golf, you may play games with people, you may hike. There are so many things that people can do as hobbies that are great hobbies, but gaming is still very different. Because let's get into some very basic things. Right out of the gate, globally, as a gamer, you are part of, depending on the numbers that you look at, you are part of a population that now numbers at 3.24 billion people. 3 billion people worldwide game. 50% of Europe games. Is that crazy to anyone else but me? When you think about the power and reach of gaming, this is what for me makes it very, very unique. Because there is a commonality in the world of people that game. Now, not everyone plays the same game. Not everyone plays the same style of game. But actively, at least, I believe it's once a week. If you game once a week, you're part of that population. Now, what does that really, really mean, and how does that tie into what we're going to do with Street Talk Live? When I talk about Street Talk Live, the authentic side of gaming, that's exactly what I mean. It is going to be the authentic side to everything that I view as being good about gaming. Now, I'm going to stay on the good side of it. Here's what we're not ever going to do in this show. I'm never going to get into controversial subjects. I'm never going to get into big debates about whether or not gaming is good or bad. There's too much evidence and data of the power for good in gaming. You're never going to hear me talk about anything that's going to stir up the opportunity to have playground fights on the show, because there's too much good that can be done and too much good that needs to be done. And in a very authentic way, this is going to be critical to what we do moving forward. We just don't, I personally, and maybe this is just me, I'll just say this. I got to be careful not to, I keep smacking my mic. I don't want to take away from the great needs of people out there that find great value in gaming by simply arguing its merits. And I'm going to give you so much science, so much research, so much news, so much personal opinions, so many guest opinions that are going to make the point that the power of gaming exists in a practical way that we can use it every single day. Okay, so what does that reach enable us to do? This global population now with digital technology allows us to connect with people, which I want to get into now, what we talk about, the 4 human needs, and what everything we're going to do is based on in this show. So many of you know, and I'll just say this at the start of this show again, on December 7th of 2021, is that right already? 2021, time has gone by, it's been about a year and a half. We lost our oldest son to about a year and a half long struggle with his mental health challenges. Now, in that struggle, during that last, especially 6 months or so, we had many, many conversations, and 4 things came out regularly as we tearfully hugged and had conversations. And that was his challenge in feeling like he had a place to belong, people he could connect with, skills that he could develop, and that the world was a very unkind place. Now, he was a tennis coach, a tennis pro, very talented, very handsome young man, and a very kind young man. But despite all of that, and this caught us completely off guard. Many of you know this story. This caught us completely off guard because we're a very close family. My wife and I have been married for 34 years. We have 6 kids, 4 grandkids, and a lot of extended family. And this wasn't anything we'd really had to deal with at this point. So during that time, we realized that the mental health care system was just completely overwhelmed. And so I started a foundation to use this community, this 3 billion member community, to reach people that we could provide in some way through this foundation those 4 things: a place to belong, people to connect with, skills to develop, and kindness. Now, there's a lot of work to be done, and we're not the only ones doing it. By the way, anyone that wants to find out more about the foundation and the work that we're doing, this show being part of it, can go to StreetTalkOeater.com. All the information will be there. We'll have regular updates about everything that's going on, but it is a 501c3, nonprofits, tax-deductible donations. We appreciate it if you can do that. As another just side note, Sly, our beverage partner, every order of Sly, and all the information is on the website as well, 20% of every sale goes right to the foundation to help keep this work all going. So that's why you see 9292 and Sly, and there will be many others down the road, I'm sure, that will want to support and contribute to the things that we're doing. So let's get into those 4 things. Those 4 things of a place to belong, people to connect with, skills to develop, and kindness will always be the thread throughout everything that we do. But let's talk about the first one. These are very basic human needs. And I'm going to tell you very specifically as in today's show and shows going forward, how this completely ties in to the gaming world. Now, before I get into the 4 things I actually remembered that I wanted to share with you, let's talk about something that's a very, very, very hot topic right now, especially in the other business that I have with a partner that's called Next Gen Link. Again, you can learn about that at StreetTalkLeader.com. But this is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I now add belonging. So it'll be a segue. Diversity, equity, inclusion is a very big topic going on today, and it should be. It's an important one. The thing that I love about gaming in this effort of diversity, equity, inclusion, and I include belonging, is that built into gaming's DNA, it's just makeup of its culture, are all of those things. I've been to many events where you could pick every demographic, every personality, every gender, every race. You could pick anything, and they're all there enjoying the activity of gaming. That is stunning to me. No one's arguing about how much money you make or where you come from. If you love that game, you are welcome there, and we're going to have a blast. So built into the culture, the DNA culture of gaming, for me, in my experience since the early 1970s, has always been diversity, equity, inclusion. And I include now belonging, which is also a big part of it. And that being the case, then that gives us an opportunity, gives us a power to be able to leverage good through that. Because gaming is automatically a connection, right? If you play this game, I play this game, we automatically have a connection. If you don't play that game, you don't play that game, we still game. We still have a connection that we enjoy gaming. We have that ability built into the community. So I'm also, you'll hear me talk about many, many times, I'm also hyper protective of the community. I am very, very leery, maybe is the right way to put it, of anything that comes into it that simply wants to exploit this power and this reach. Now, I'm grateful for a lot of investment that goes into gaming, a lot of investment that goes into esports, a lot of investment that's now going into the mental health care side of gaming and the things that it can provide. I read another article today from, I can't remember who it was from, basically making the point that don't be afraid if you're seeing a counselor to express that you game, and counselors don't be afraid to engage gaming as such an incredibly powerful tool for the betterment of mental health and emotional well-being. And in future episodes, we're going to delve deep into that. We'll have guests on that work in those kinds of things. But there's a lot of effort going on in the world around gaming as a foundation for improving mental health, emotional well-being, and providing the four things we're going to talk about. And I'm grateful for that. So we're not the only ones. I just want to be one of the most powerful ones, because at age 60, I'm also, in my demographic, kind of a unicorn in the sense that I understand, I enjoy and participate in the activities and benefits of gaming every day. I stream every day. You guys know that. I put out content that is actually, I don't put out any gaming content, as funny as it is. I put out content around gaming of the things we're talking about here in the show. Okay, now let's keep going forward. When we talk about, so I told you, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Belonging is the first one of the four foundations of the foundation, or the four principles of the foundation. And again, the four things that my son felt as though he couldn't, he couldn't find. Didn't feel as though he could find. Belonging is a human need. We all need to belong. Very few people, unless they just have other issues, do not feel as though they need to belong. So we all need to belong. And what's difficult right now in the world in general is we've become very divisive, right? We just see that in a lot of cases where if you're not part of this, you're not part of that, you don't belong here, go out. It can make us look as though, as we scroll through social media, or feel as though that we don't belong because, well, my life isn't like theirs, and I'm not as good as they are, and I don't have what they have. Belonging is critical. Belonging is, and you guys know this, you guys understand this 100%. When you have the ability to belong, let me back up in this one point before we delve into belonging. I want you to understand that I realized through the experience of losing my son that there are many, many, many people suffering in silence, and they don't feel as though they have anywhere they can go. They don't feel as though they have that ability to belong. It wasn't just my son. So that sense of belonging means that we have an opportunity to share those feelings with others. You know, it's again, I told you, this isn't going to be totally scripted. And my wife tells me all the time that I tend to move from, well, let me back up one point. There are a couple of things I want to make as a foundation before we get into these four things even more deeply. One of the things that is very, very important to me is to help gamers understand that we have a responsibility, that it can be an activity that you simply enjoy and you simply play, but it can be much, much more. I did a presentation on this, and I think this is an important foundation for me to make before we delve into those four things again. And that foundation is this. We have two sides of gaming. We have people that game, and we have people that don't game. Now, half of the world's population doesn't game. And unfortunately, we have created as gamers, as a general culture, I'm just talking general, a culture appearance from the outside, non-endemic people that don't game, that this is an epic waste of time, that this is something that is toxic, this is something that is negative. And if that's the case, which we know that it is for many people, and thus we get into the confrontations of, you shouldn't game, it's a complete waste of time, we have a responsibility and an opportunity as gamers, I believe, so tell me if I'm wrong, that to change that image, right? We can do things in gaming, this activity that we love, by being proud of it, by being vocal about it, by being professional, by being kind, by being non-toxic, by talking about and demonstrating openly what the benefits are. Because too many people hide behind the screen, never talk about being gamers, and because of fear of what other people outside are going to say, because of the general opinion that exists. Let me give you one story from the past. Many years ago, when we first moved to Texas, I was heavily involved in playing World of Warcraft. That was my game at the time. And I met a guy at a Chamber of Commerce activity I was speaking at before the event started, and I found out that he played World of Warcraft, and he was a big World of Warcraft player. And so I thought it was great. I had an immediate connection. We started talking about World of Warcraft, what we were doing. It was incredible. I got up to give my presentation, and part of my presentation, I called him out, and in a very positive way, because I was very excited about what gaming could do and the fact that this was an incredible hobby. As soon as I called him out in this very positive way, I could see him in the back of the room kind of shrink down. I could see that he was terrified and horrified that in this business environment where I was speaking to business owners, I would bring up gaming as an activity, because for the most part, it comes off as being something that is a complete waste of time by people outside that don't game. Now, any other gamer in there would be excited about that. Now, that was probably, let's say that was probably 17 or 18 years ago. I have seen a bit of a transformation where more people are more open about gaming. And it's funny because we think about gaming as this activity to not be proud of, because it seems to be, because it's a game. And yet the power that we're going to talk about that exists is incredibly important to be shared with people all around. And thus it goes back to what I talked about when I said the responsibility that we have. We need to help other people if we want them to be involved in supporting our efforts, family, friends, businesses, organizations, corporations, whatever it is. We have to let them know and see from us that we take pride, we take it seriously. It's a professional, we can be professional about it, we can be kind at whatever level. Whether you're someone that just plays by yourself and you do a role play game and no one ever knows that you play it, you can talk about it with others, and I'll tell you about how that works for me. You can be, if you do play with others, you can be responsible, you can be kind, you can be professional. If you want to do it at the point of making an income, treat it like a business and let people outside know that you treat that as a business and can be proud of it. But one of the biggest things is that we have our hands on something so big and so powerful and so amazing. If we'll treat it and view it that way, the rest of the world outside will also begin to treat and view it that way. Now, it reminds me also of a story. When I was young, I skated. I was part of a skateboard team called Godzilla Skates. And I remember after I stopped skating, so skating for me lasted for a few years. Then I got into BMX. We had a BMX trick team. I got into racing bicycles, road bikes, mountain bikes as they evolved, because none of that stuff, mountain bikes didn't exist, by the way, when I started racing. But I remember when Tony Hawk signed the first $1 million contract in skating. I had a bunch of friends that were from that world that felt very threatened or very fearful that this is going to ruin our great thing that we have and it's going to make it all corporate. And my first thought was, wow, the opportunities that are going to evolve because of a contract like that, because the world outside of skating understood there was potential here and they were willing to invest in it. That was powerful to me, because how many people that wanted to maybe make a living at skating versus just doing it as a hobby didn't have that option before. So I was very excited. Gaming is much the same way. Now, we've seen a lot of money poured into, especially esports, in the last 3 or 4 years, and there's good and bad to that. But the point that I want to make is if we want people to understand what the power is that it has for us personally, what it can have for us globally, what it can have for us professionally, then we just need to embrace that the good that's there and begin to share it and take advantage of it. Okay, now, those stories and that responsibility and that opportunity is something I feel very strongly about, because that's the power, the engine behind the four things that we do and that we talk about at every level. Again, not everyone is going to want to be a professional streamer or do content or work in the gaming industry, or, a lot of people simply love it as an activity. But there are two sides to it, and we're going to talk about that going forward a lot. Now, let's get back to these four things: belong, connect, develop, and kindness. Be kind. This belonging aspect of things is so important in society today, because when we talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, right, I mentioned in the beginning, in the world in general, big topics, belonging is a big part of it. There are so many things. I grew up as a latchkey kid. I grew up raised by a single mom, and it was difficult at times for me to feel as though I belonged anywhere. We didn't have a lot of money, so if I didn't wear name brand stuff to school, then I would get teased. So you learn to kind of go through that and not care. But by the same time, there were times when I just didn't feel like I belonged. I felt very alone. The gaming and activities when I got into skating and other things, were a big part of changing that. But that sense of belonging to a group was very, very, very powerful. And so in gaming, we can provide that to others. Now, that ties into a lot of the things that we have as opportunity and responsibility as well, to make sure that people do feel as though they belong. And this is a challenge, guys. I do a lot of content on this. This is a challenge when it comes to especially multiplayer games where you're playing online. Things can be very toxic, cross the line from trash talk into extreme negativity. Why in the world, to me, would we not want to make other people feel welcome? Because it simply makes our experience better. Because gaming can be an activity with an objective, or it can be an activity with an experience. And the experience is far more important than the outcome of the game, even if you play professionally. And this is what I mean. The experience, if you make it positive and focus on it correctly, improves the outcome every single time. And how do you make the experience better? You help people feel as though they belong. I just did a talk on this recently to an organization, and I made this point. I said the outcome is less important than the experience, because the experience will provide a better outcome. And so that being the case, it comes into the kind of talk and engagement that we have with each other when we game. If someone drops the ball in a gameplay on your team, they do something, a pure mistake, they don't hold a position, they didn't take care of an assignment, whatever it is, the tendency is to want to just flame them. You suck, you're the worst, this isn't going to be anything that's ever going to be good. Get off our team. No one feels like they belong. The mentality of the entire team, it doesn't improve that person's opportunity to make a difference going forward. You've essentially wrecked the potential for the outcome, and it makes that person feel isolated and as though they don't belong. On the other hand, if you say to someone when they really drop the ball, hey man, listen, it's all right, we'll get it next time. Happens to all of us. What did you immediately do? You immediately relieved the pressure that person already feels for having made the mistake, and you reinforce the fact that they are part of the team, they belong in what you're doing, and it will always improve the outcome of the next engagement every time, because that mentality will change. And you know what, as a side note, let's just be clear. As an important side note, it makes you feel a lot better, right? You're the one that really wins in a situation like that. When you go out of your way to help someone feel as though they belong. Here's another example of belonging. And this will tie into our next point of connect. When everywhere I go, I mean everywhere, ask my kids, ask my wife, ask friends that I'm out anywhere with traveling. My business partner knows this, who's not a gamer. And I will ask people, are you gamer? And that question alone immediately does something called connection. It connects us. Because we both recognize, whoever the person is I'm asking that of, that we belong to a community that is unique and something oftentimes we deeply, deeply love. Now, I'll tell you that far more than half the time, because we know that half the world's population games, far more than half the time do people say yes, they game. It's probably 7 or 8 times out of 10 they say absolutely. So that gets us into the subject of connection, right? We have belonging and we have connection. Another human need is that we need to feel connected to what we're doing. We need to feel connected to people. It gives us purpose, it gives us value, it gives us meaning in the efforts we put forward. That connection is under threat all the time in the world, because the world will make you think, when you see in general with all the chaos and different things going on, all the difficulties, or if you're just scrolling your feed in social media, it can make you feel not connected because everyone seems to be doing something better, running at a faster pace, having more than you have, having whatever it is. We don't feel connected. We can feel very isolated. Now, in terms of people that are often suffering in silence, it's because they, one, don't feel as though they belong. Two, they don't feel connected to someone that can relate to them. Now, this was a big issue for my son when he would come to me and say, Dad, because dads want to fix things, right? So when I knew he was struggling, that's my first inclination, is I want to fix it. I want to make it better. And he would tell me, don't try to fix it because you don't know what's going on in my head, right? And in a very tearful, very sincere way. And I would say, yes, you're absolutely right. I don't understand. So one of the big needs that he had, and this is what people have all the time, is to have this opportunity to connect with someone that can relate to where they are at whatever point in their life. You know, emotional difficulty, mental health difficulties, struggle in school, overcoming and beating a boss in a game, a relationship, what's going on at work. You know, yeah, I have PTSD, you have PTSD, I have ADHD, whatever those things are. That connection provides something that is very powerful that we call hope. And that connection says, because if someone has been through what you have been through or what you're going through and can tell you from personal experience that you can get through this based on these things, it gives you hope and purpose to be able to work through it. Let me give you the power of connection in another example. 2 days after we lost our son, after he passed away, I had a friend that come out of my front door. His name's Mark. And I hadn't seen him for maybe 3 or 4 years. I'd known him for a lot of years. And he had lost his son 10 years before. And when I opened up the door and he was there, we didn't have to say a word as dad to dad. Both of us teared up and we just embraced. We had a connection because of an experience that was beyond words. Now, why was that so powerful? Because I knew at that moment that for years he had experienced what we had just experienced 2 days before and what we were going to go through. And it was incredible to talk with him through those times and be able to have him say, this is how I felt, this is what it meant for me, and this is how we worked through it. It gives you strength and power when you're connected with others. Now, gaming allows us to be powerfully connected to many, many, many people around the world. Because I'm going to tell you right now, you know that through the work of the foundation, the 1992 Foundation, I'm focused on saving lives through gaming. We're focused on improving mental health, emotional well-being, outside of all the other great things that we're working on. But those kinds of things, the ability to connect, because I'm going to tell you right now that my experience of 6 decades on this planet tell me that the vast majority of people that we encounter, that we cross in a day, are having major problems in their lives. And oftentimes it stays hidden, so much so that they don't feel as though they are connected with others that are going through the same thing, because there are very few things in the world that someone is going through that someone else hasn't experienced or wouldn't be able to some degree understand and empathize with. So that power to connect is incredibly useful, and we have it in gaming naturally. So we have belonging, we have connecting. Now, let's get into something else that has all kinds of applications, and that's the development side. There are skills that can be developed both practically in the sense of career skills that are monetizable that we learn through gaming. On my site, In Play, we talk about some of those kinds of things, and you guys know that. Problem solving, communication skills, teamwork, the list goes on and on and on. There are very practical skills that can be developed and are developed through gaming. And in an ever-evolving digital world, the experience that you're bringing through gaming is very powerfully applicable. Let me just give you a couple of examples. I have a company with a partner called Next Gen Link, and one of the things we do, or the main thing we do, is we help companies that are struggling right now to attract, retain, and develop talent. We just had a call with some work we'll likely be doing with some people in Algeria starting this summer, and Algeria as a country has a lot of incentive in tech development. and they are doing a lot of work in different companies to bring, AR, VR technology, iPads, those kinds of things into from education and the workplace. And so that being the case, that's just Algeria. We work with companies all over that are doing the same thing. And the thing that we do at Next Gen Link is help them understand that the skills that gamers bring in, the tangible skills, are incredibly applicable. And so instead of saying, I did a piece of content recently where I said, listen, I think every employer should ask in a job interview, are you a gamer? Because that brings so much power in terms of me understanding where your mindset is, what your skill set potentially is, how you deal with people, how you solve problems, what things you can do and not do, what are you used to, do you ever use AR, do you ever use VR, right? I can go into an assessment that's so much more deep based on those skill sets. So the things we learn that are practical in gaming are amazingly transferable. But sometimes we don't think about that. Sometimes because we end up hiding behind, the stigma of what gaming is. And yet growing up in a digital world, if you are 25 years old or less, or if you are 20 years old or younger, this is incredibly native to you. It's just the world you've grown up with. At my age, at 60, I didn't grow up in this world. I had to evolve with it. Fortunately, I did, and that's been my career most of my life. And so it's very natural to me. But you have skill development that comes from gaming that's very powerful. Now, the other side of it, not just the practical side of it, not just the financial side of it, comes into the social skills, comes into the ability and opportunity to improve your own well-being based on the way that you interact with people in gaming and the kinds of things that you do. Now, I say that in a very guarded way because I mentioned before how easy it is for people to view what we do in gaming as being very toxic and very negative. But those that take the other side of it and say to themselves, I can be a power for good, you develop skills that are social connection, engagement, empathy, learning to be kind, we're going to talk about next. All of those kinds of things are practical skills that make you a better able person to do things you want to do in life. Again, it happens in gaming. Think about all the things. I know many people that are incredibly introverted, right? Very difficult for them to socialize with others, or they may have emotional or mental health challenges, PTSD or ADHD, things that make them feel very uncomfortable and very awkward. I'll tell you that gaming is an incredibly powerful tool to be able to begin to overcome those, at least at what I've seen. I don't struggle with those things, clearly. I'm more of an extrovert. But those skills are skills that can be learned. In future episodes going forward, we're going to be talking in great depth and detail, from scientific research to counselors to people in the psychology, psychiatric world that will help identify what those tools are, so that you can better understand, in fact, that all these things that you're doing are actually better. I have a video, or actually will improve skills. I have a video I put out that's like 7 seconds long, has over 700,000 views, and it simply says, gaming is not a waste of time. It's an investment in your mental health. And that being said, I feel very strongly about that. I feel that it absolutely is that. Now, I get it. I get it. People can say over and over and over, they can go on all kinds of different things and saying that gaming can be overdone. And this person doesn't meet their responsibilities and they neglect. I get it. Absolutely. Anything good can be overdone. Anything good can be misused and cause damage. I get it. But that doesn't negate the fact that the power within gaming to do these kinds of things still exists, to improve skills, develop skills, and be able to transfer those skills into something that is much, much, much more powerful than simply just playing the game. Okay, let's get into the fourth one. Again, for those that are just tuning in, the foundation is based on, this show is going to be based on the authentic side of gaming and 4 principles of everything that we're going to look at, right? The ability to belong, the ability to connect, the ability to develop skills. But let's talk about one that is much more difficult, and that is the kindness side of it. Now, we live in a very confrontational world. Everyone sees that. I never have to explain that. But one of the things that after our son's passing, we had messages from all over the world of people that had known him. And I am not exaggerating when I tell you, of these hundreds of messages, the vast majority of the time, there was at some point in the message the word kind related to him, about how kind he was. And I can tell you that that's powerful. And he was legitimately one of the kindest people I have ever known outside of being my son. But the power in kindness is that it's so connecting to people. That's what people remembered. That's what people loved about him. That's what people looked forward to when they engaged with him, is how kind he was. Now, he wasn't perfect. Don't get me wrong. He had his moments. But in general, he would never do anything he felt that would be unkind towards another person, and always had that in his heart and mind. Now, when it comes to gaming, those kinds of things, and I got a ton of comments that were coming through about kindness, and kindness is a weakness, and kindness is, just kind people, good guys finish last, and kindness is never going to get you to win in the end. It's so untrue. It's so untrue. It doesn't take much in the sense when we talked about, I've mentioned the story, and I could mention many, many other. Anytime I talk to someone and I say, "Are you a gamer?" automatically we identify that we belong to the same thing, the community of gaming. We automatically have a connection, especially if we play the same games. We automatically understand that there are skills because I'm exercising those skills and that person is exercising skills, and we're sharing those together. But I can tell you, they leave the conversation with me anyway, of understanding how much kindness there can be there. When people come into the content, when I talk about kindness, and they say, "Oh, well, you haven't played this game and you haven't played that game." I've played them all. I mean, if I play Call of Duty, it's toxic. If I play League of Legends, which I played a couple of times, I get it. I get that R6 is toxic. But we have an opportunity. It doesn't mean it has to be. It means we choose to let it be that way. We choose to let it be something that none of us enjoy. People will talk about how much fun they have to trash someone, how much fun they have to go in and troll people, and how much fun trash talk is. And trash talk can be a way, especially for guys, that they just engage with each other because it's uncomfortable to say nice things. It's more comfortable just to joke around knowing that it's kind of an engagement of endearment, right? But that being said, kindness still rules at the end of the day. Because when you think to yourself that most people you meet are having difficult times in their lives, and you may not even know it in any way, kindness can maybe change their day, change their week, maybe change their life just in an interaction that you have in-game. How hard is it to simply, in an environment, maybe you're playing with randoms, you're playing in random lobbies, and you're hearing someone, and there's all the trash talk going on, all the toxicity, and you're the one in that instant that says, if something happens, "Hey man, GG, that was an incredible play." Or if someone does something that they're not supposed to, like I talked about earlier, and you simply say, "Hey man, listen, we'll get them next time, no sweat. It happens to all of us." Kindness doesn't have to be, give me a hug and let's sing Kumbaya. It doesn't have to be that. It can simply be, "Hey man, we got this. That's all right. We'll get them next time. Hey, it happens to us all." There are little things that can be done to start to generate kindness. And I'm telling you, based on the experience of the kind people that I know, they are the most remembered people ever. They are the people that, all said and done, regardless of what they achieved in their life, that's what's going to be remembered. Even at my son's funeral service, when we had hundreds and hundreds of people there, people would come up and they would say, again, with a hug, how kind he was and how much they're going to miss that. So it's not difficult to do. We have to just do it a step at a time. Kindness means this. Maybe you're someone that naturally isn't kind. Maybe you tend to not have the self-confidence, or you're having rough times and you tend to lash out. You tend to be the one looking for the next dog to kick. What if just one time in a day you could do something that was a measure of kindness? You could simply say, in a game, "Hey man, it's all good." And that's it. Because if you can do it one time, now you can maybe do it a second time. And if you can do it a second time, you can do it a third time. If you can do it a third time, and so on, and so on, and so on. And next thing you'll know, you'll first change your behavior, and after that, you'll find that you have changed the behavior of people in your lobbies, on your teams, people that you engage with. And people from outside, the non-endemic people I talked about of gaming, are going to look at gaming and say, "Hey, there's actually good there. There's actually good people doing great things. And it's actually an environment where I feel safe sending my child, my friend, my loved one, my business partner, whatever it is, to go check out." I would like to be associated with this. It goes back to what I talked about when you say, if you want other people to treat the activity that we engage in this community of gaming, the way that we treat it, the way that we love it, then we've got to treat it in a way that merits their respect, their attention, their investment, and their appreciation. It's up to us. It's up to us. So in those 4 things, belong, connect, develop, and be kind, they're all within our grasp, and they're all naturally developed. They're all naturally a part of everything that we're doing. It's natural. And so at scale, we have an opportunity to save lives, to change lives, to better ourselves in everything that we do. For many people, the therapeutic side of what gaming can be, and again, we're going to be talking about this a lot, is what we can give into it, what we can put into it, not what we just simply take out of it. Sometimes we're going to have emotional. Steve Covey in the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People tells a story about, we need to make emotional deposits more than we make emotional withdrawals, right? So sometimes we're going to make emotional withdrawals. We blow it. We need the support. It's hard for us to get out of our own minds, our own difficulties to be able to improve someone else's situation. But when we are feeling better, we can share. And oftentimes when we're struggling, that sharing is what obviously is going to be therapeutic for us as well. Okay, as we kind of get to where we wrap this up, let's move into this last section. I got to tell you, every single day that you wake up, every single day, if you're a gamer, that you think about what opportunity you have, you should just be yelling at the top of your lungs, holy cow, I can't believe this is happening. I grew up in a time when none of this existed. And so to have the privilege to be able to game, to be able to connect, to be able to do all these things we're talking about is absolutely incredible. You should feel as though you have your hands on the most powerful, the most exciting, the most incredible opportunity that has ever existed in human history, right? We live in the greatest time of human history. Technology is advancing so rapidly that opportunities to do things that we think are kind of basic right now are going to be just a very natural part of our lives. I was driving home with my wife a few days ago. She's out of town right now. And I said, there's going to come a time when this experience that we have is going to be virtual and be just as real to us as the real experience is. And the opportunities that we talk about in belonging, connecting, developing, and sharing kindness are just going to expand. The experience that we can have with each other is just going to expand. This is an absolutely incredibly amazing, crazy amazing time in human history. And I literally get up every day thinking to myself, wow, we get to do this. And so one of the things we'll get into as well in future shows is we're not just going to talk about those 4 things, the principles, the foundation, and all the human side. We're going to talk about the tech side because there's some really, really cool stuff that's coming. Apple, I think it's next month, they're going to announce their new glasses, I guess, that are coming, their new AR. We're going to see advancements take place that are simply going to make life not just more. Let me say this, because this is the conversation my wife and I were having. Technology is great in and of itself, but it's what it lends us as an opportunity to do that is what really matters in a practical way, right? When you talk about, like I said, the telephone call we had with 2 a father and son from Algeria, it was incredible, incredible people. As I remember, one of them, the son was telling me that the Algerian government has just purchased 1 million iPads to put those into the school systems so that kids in Algeria can begin immersively experiencing technology. And so all of that stuff is coming, and we don't appreciate it sometimes enough in terms of what it can do. But again, within the boundaries of this community, it's going to make us more and more connected. I know that I've had many conversations. I was an early adopter of technology, and I was excited to see what could be done. Texting, social media, these kinds of things. While they all, trust me, they all need to have boundaries and guidelines, I'm not the one that focuses on the boundaries and guidelines. I believe that the technology is like a Formula One race car. And you simply can't put someone in the driver's seat of a Formula One car and just send them out on the track. Even if you got it started for them, they're probably going to stall it or crash right away. The power of a Formula One race car has to be learned. You have to develop skills to use it correctly. And of course, you can use it incorrectly. Technology is no different. Technology is absolutely no different. When we talk about having technology in our palms, in our pockets every day, it's very powerful. And of course, there needs to be guidelines, there needs to be boundaries to it because it can be misused. But I'm not the one that focuses on that. I'd rather be the one that says, look at the good that we can do in the world. Look at the good impact, or look at the impact that we can have for positive results in the world because of technology. And it's just getting better and better and better. Right now, you guys know the big topic of discussion is going on is about AI. And you have everyone from Elon Musk to others that are saying, hey, we need to be really careful. And yet, there's no changing it now. It's not going to stop. So we have to begin to look at gaming, technology, software development, AI, all of these kinds of things as never going away. But instead, how can we direct it and harness it for good? Now, people are going to reach out to me. People are going to say, hey, you know what? But that's not my responsibility. That's not, I just game to relax at the end of the day. Perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. But let me tell you how it even has an impact in a personal life, and you may not pay attention to this. I had a mom over here talking with my wife a couple of weeks ago, and she has two sons. One's on the autism scale, and the other suffers from ADHD or struggles with ADHD. And gaming is a great release for them. However, in their house, when they're gaming, they get so rage-filled, and the language that comes out and is not acceptable in their home, and it has an impact. So when you say that I just game and I'm just by myself, most times there's someone or something in that engagement that is going to change either you or others around you if you're not careful with it. And so no one lives, right, on an island in human existence. If you game, even if you game alone, you may be with your wife, a boyfriend, a loved one, a partner, whatever, someone that's around you watches you game, and if you don't control and can't control your behavior, when you say, this is my outlet, well, instead you're raging and you're losing control based on what someone else looks. You're having an impact. You have an impact on the community. You have an impact on the ability to do good because people judge that activity then as not being good because of the way that it affects you. So I'm not saying everyone has to immediately change and turn and become someone completely different than they ever anticipated, that they would be, and I got to make these big changes. No, but everyone can make little changes. Someone came to me early on when we started the foundation and they said, hey, Street, you can't save everyone. You can't save everyone. And I said, yes, but based on a quote that I heard, but everyone can save someone. Everyone can save someone. And the impact that you can have can save that someone. You may not even know it. So when we go back to the entire discussion of what we're talking about, right? It comes down to you understanding that you are part of an incredibly amazing community we call gaming. You have that ability you belong to that community for good or bad. You're part of it. You can improve it just a little bit. You have the opportunity to connect with people that live anywhere, that do anything, unlike I ever had the ability to connect. When people talk about when youth started texting and being very connected digitally, I thought that was incredible. For a lot of youth that aren't extroverts, that maybe in school feel isolated, can now be very connected digitally, be connected all the time. There's a lot of good there. The opportunity to learn skills, come on. Oh my goodness, I could go back on this and talk for like another 2 hours on just the skill development side of it. The opportunities that you leverage through this native intuition that you have for technology and skill development is just absolutely incredible. In the gaming world, I know so many people, I'm going to be a pro gamer, especially if you're young. Likely not, right? Anyway, that'll be a discussion for other times. The one thing I want to share just a little bit when we talk about this is in my content, oftentimes when I put a video out, I get a lot of feedback. And I want to share, just as we kind of wrap up, kind of the heartwarming side of gaming and what it means to a lot of people. So I put out a video. I said, do video games help with your mental health? That's all that it was. And I think this video probably has 35 or 40,000 views. But more importantly, it has over 1,200 comments. So let me share with you some comments of what the responses are to people, and we'll just read through a bunch of them, that they said in response to, did video games help with your mental health? So let's just go through a couple of these. Lord Swift says 100% after a bad day or just mentally trying or tiring day. When I sit down in my study and turn on my PC, that's when I relax. Natasha Webster, oh boy, I have ADHD. Sednock Sayer, yes, it's true, because playing games giving me a place to express myself like no other places I have, like killing and stress release. Cyberwolf says, I'm 36, I have ADHD, and never got medical help. All I do is game, and it helps me focus on a day-to-day basis. These are just comments from people in my content. Carl Schaefer says, video games help me deal with the pain of being apart from my partner in an LDR. Schleck Boy says, game on my brothers and sisters, game on. Looking for a band says, gaming is an escape for me. Life can be overwhelming, but when I'm playing a game, it distracts me from my anxious thoughts. Again, this is the question of, does gaming help with your mental health? Papa Bear says, my son has used this for an outlet since childhood. It's a way of escape from the noise that's in his brain. Evan says, couldn't agree more. Tech of the Blind says, absolutely agree. Me and My Bike says, I fit several of those noted mental health parameters. I also find video games very helpful. Yisik says, completely agree. When I was struggling with some issues during the school years and home issues my therapist recommended, I get lost in gaming. Daniel Wood says, yep, it's true. I met a good friend over a game for the past 7 or 8 years. Not met them yet, but he's been a good buddy for me. Ryan says, yep, that's true, because video games help me through my grandma's death. Don Turrent, sorry, some of these are kind of hard to read when you're just going off the fly. Don Turrent says, I agree with it. I have severe ADHD problems and found peace in video games. I'm mostly good at management game or strategy games. AOD Concealed says, yes. Odruff says, I agree. It also helps to let off steam or general as an outlet for built up energy you can't get rid of normally. Josh says, playing games helps me focus and reduce my anxiety and stress levels. These are just viewers that have responded to the question, do video games help with your mental health? Sometimes I like the feeling of control, because everything in my life kept falling apart at a point of time. It brings me comfort. TGF Gamesta says, definitely, gaming has helped me through many tough times that would have otherwise killed me. Gaming literally saved my life. Aaron Shaw says, this is 100% correct for me and my wife. Hidden Image says, I really believe it. Games have helped me through my entire life. Cammy Swart, I believe it. It's true. Another Schleck Boy, on the game it works for me and why it should... on the game, it works for me, and why should it not work for you? Henrik says, yes, all of it. Some of these names are also kind of tricky. They're kind of hard to read. Again, talking about the question in the content I put out that said, do video games help with your mental health? Otto Merlavarero says, 100% agree. It's my coping mechanism for when I'm stressed. Ginger Man says, 1,000% agree. The Green Trevel says, I feel more peaceful playing video games than most anything else. Gemini Chaos says, they've helped me throughout my whole life and still does to this day. Batman Brother 123 says, that's so true. Without video games, I wouldn't be who I am today. Buggy's Son says, I agree 100% with that video games help me with my mental health. They get even better when I play with friends. Games are my escape from the world. Lost Soul says, games have always been where I go to. Sometimes it's easy to play a game than to open up to others. Yep, 100%. Alex says, distraction, yes. Help, maybe. Eli, mom, says, that is exactly why I play games, because it helps me to not overthink and wallow in self-doubt. King Kai says, so true. Don Chappelle says that is absolutely true. Lad Darkness 2, yes. 4, it's true. It helped me a lot with my social anxiety. I can now communicate well with people, but only to those I'm close with, for now at least. Do you understand the power in some of these comments that people are making? It's incredible, because when someone says something like that, I agree completely. Yes, it's true. It's helped me a lot with my social anxiety. I can now communicate with people, communicate well with people, but only to those I'm close with, for now at least. What a massive, incredible step moving forward. Remember the skill development, remember the connection, remember all. This is exactly what we're talking about. Julianne Moore says, OMG, I couldn't agree more. During my rough childhood, abusive relationships, and now my recovery, video games have become my safe haven. I'm a nerd, so I am as well. Akuro Junketsu says, I am diagnosed AD&D and possibly have several undiagnosed conditions. Gaming allows me to decompress and not be hyper-focused on my hardships. You guys, if you relate to any of these, this is, many of you, would feel, I'm sure, exactly the same way. Again, just wrapping up, just a few more of these. I asked the question, do video games help with your mental health? Another one from Select Boy. Yes, I agree. I recommend playing games if you are depressed or are in pain whatsoever that you're going to go through in life. Take your depression or anger out on the games. Well, do it safely. Czar says 1,000% true. Mason says, I agree. It helps us understand the character in the game. We can relate to that character. Tris Luna says 100%. UC808 says, so true. Never found the same peace of mind that I do when playing games for a few hours. Adam Payne says, agree 1,000%. Rufus and Buttercup, after everything I've been through in my life, I think the only reason I don't have any problems is because games have been my escape. Shelly says, absolutely. Tom Pace agreed 1,000 or 100%. Owen, I don't just believe it's true. It simply is true. The number of times I've used video games as an escape from everything is countless at this point. You guys understand as we wrap up here, this is what I'm talking about. In my content, when I put things out, I will have, in this case, there are 1,221 comments. Of the 1,221 comments that I read every single one of them and I respond to every single one of them. So when you comment, know that I'm seeing it and I'm responding. Of those 1,221 comments, there's probably 4 that were kind of trolly. It's amazing because people are connected to this. Guys, this is what I'm talking about, of how powerful a tool that we have in our hands to provide a place to belong, people to connect with, skills to develop, and to understand the power of kindness and be able to start exercising it. We absolutely 100 million% have our hands on an amazing opportunity for us personally and for the many other people that we engage with. Now, going forward with the shows, we're going to get into a lot of depth. We're going to take questions. We're going to have guests. If you are interested, just as we wrap up, in finding out more about what we're doing and the 9292 Foundation and Sly, please go to StreetTalkOeater.com, StreetTalkOeater.com. All of our socials, all my socials are Street Talk, but go to the website. You can find out how to donate to the foundation. If you have the ability to do that, to keep this work and much other that we have planned to do going, please donate to the foundation. It's a 501c3. It's tax deductible. Support Sly, because every time you purchase Sly, it's a beverage. You can learn all about it. I'll do a whole nother episode about it. It's an amazing company. I know the founders personally. They've stayed at my house. An amazing opportunity there, what's going on to have anyway, I won't go into that. Every purchase that you make from Sly, 20% of it, they've agreed to donate to the foundation as well. If you simply want to be a guest on the show or you want to find out more, you can go there as well. Join the Discord. Our Discord creator and our mods Anthony will be able to help you with that. We're going to be creating channels and calendars and different things where you'll be able to access opportunities to be on the show. So in wrapping up, I want you to know this. You are in the right place at the right time because we're doing the right things. I want you to know how much I love and appreciate everyone that's in the world of gaming. Even those that are struggling to do the right things in it, we can help them through our examples, make a better case for the world to see of the good that can be done through gaming. And you are all a part of it. Stay tuned. This show is going to be on Monday through Friday, 10 to 11. But again, as we wrap up, and I'm going to be live gaming here as soon as we get through with this, just to let everyone know that's how it'll work. I want you to know that you are absolutely in the right place. You are absolutely at the right time because we're doing the right things and you get to be a part of it. Thank you for who you are. Thank you for how much you bring to the world, and know that I love you. And if I see you and I meet you in person, I'm going to hug you. I hug everyone, and great things are coming one more time because you're in the right place at the right time and we're doing the right thing. We'll see you tomorrow.